Come to San Francisco, find acceptance, give your real self permission. Well, I'm from Texas, a military city. I'm named after an Air Force base, which means my mother took a look at my little baby face for the very first time and said, air warfare. Christmas bombings, Operation Rolling Thunder. Decades later, I would quit the Lone Star State and give myself permission to live longer. Fact, cradle to grave, a Texan's life is short. Just limited days filled with Dairy Queen Oreo blizzards, deadly thunderstorms, corpulent men at the Home Depot with handguns tucked under their wet bellies, muttering to themselves, too many niggers, migrants, feminists, sanctuary city. Make this a sanctuary city for the unborn. Texas is 30th in U.S. life expectancy. In the insect world, they'd be houseflies. California is 4th. And I came to be amongst the long-living cicadas, truly be myself. An overeducated, busybody, artsy, anxiety-ridden, wine-dependent, childless, single sister who looks like a cross between Halle Berry and Urkel. I'm standing outside what could be my very first San Francisco address. Basement apartment, studio, $1,500. Invited me inside as one of those witchy white women. Red hair, see-through skin, pointy elf ears. I think they're glued on. Come in, she says like she wants to cook and eat me. I peek first to make sure the oven's not open. There's no oven, just a sink, a fridge, and one of those, I think it's called a hot plate, the plug-in stove used by Lexapro-loving divorced dads. Ooh, this place is dog crate small. There's a window, at least there's some ventilation, but looking out of a basement is like rubbernecking out of your own grave. You can always ask the landlord for security bars, she says. And now I'm thinking that this basement is a favorite of the Night Stalkers, that it's on his single ladies home invasion tour. And then the witch elf hits me with, cats are allowed here, as though I want a litter box in this small space. I might as well buy a stinky candle, something scented with toxoplasmosis and fresh stool. Cut out the middle cat. You're not going to find a better price in this market, she says, and puts her hands on my shoulders in an almost motherly way. But I'm not sure how familiar you are with this market and this neighborhood. You may want to walk around a bit. I'll give you till sundown to decide. And as I'm walking back on Leavenworth Street, I think, if I just killed her, I could improve my living options over that place. When I Google it, it says that apartment is actually 3 times bigger than a jail cell. This neighborhood is the Tenderloin. It's more loin than tender. There's sex and drug sellers and sex and drug buyers. It's where the cops do the most drug busts, for crack mostly, like it's the goddamn 80s. It's also the #1 place for East Coast media to come and sneer and write stories about San Francisco being a shithole city. See that New York Times piece? Life on the dirtiest block in San Francisco. It was Hyde Street, one of the 56 blocks that make up the Tenderloin. The New York paper rummaged through our heroin needles and side-eyed our trash and human excrement and people camped out on the sidewalks. And it profiled this one tree that crackheads kept breaking the branches from to clean out their crack pipes, as though we aren't deforesting whole nations to print the New York Times. Developing world squalor, they wrote. Can you believe the city spends $70 million to clean these streets? Real judgy, I know. Then the New Yorker wrote a piece comparing San Francisco with Paris in the 14th century. During the bubonic plague, the Black Death that killed half of Paris's population, a time when streets were covered in dead rats and deuces, and Frenchmen chucked their chamber pots out into the road and vomited blood and popped boils on their crotches, and that Paris was still cleaner than San Francisco is now. They rejoiced. All this nasty poop! Well, my pops is a plumber, and I ask questions about waste disposal like, why are there only 25 public toilets in a city with a housing problem? There's more than 25 people living outside. This is one of those food-named places, like Two Egg, Florida, Cookie Town, Oklahoma, Oatmeal, Texas. And you know a tenderloin is a fancy-ass cut of beef, right? Comes from right about here on the cow. Well, San Francisco's tenderloin also has this weird association with a New York cop. It was the 1880s. This cop was shaking down criminals and madams, and he got rich off of it, bragging. All my life I've been eating on chuck steak. It's about time I got me a piece of that tenderloin. The nickname stuck to the area he policed, went viral to grimy neighborhoods all over America. The first reference to San Francisco's tenderloin is 1893. My neighbors, the potential ones, are outside to meet me, help me marinate in that tenderloin. Ooh, a sidewalk sale, and it's not even the weekend. DVD box set of The Office, the British version. Good taste, sir. Sony PlayStation that obviously does not work, and raw steaks. No thanks, I don't have a refrigerator yet. I guess neither do you. Secondhand is the best recycling. This is fourth hand. Just then, a man is crossing the street toward me, bent forward, cricked so deeply at the waist, he looks like a jig doll taking a bow, like he's going to face plant into the crosswalk. And sure enough, he takes a dive, and I go over like the good Samaritan I am, just in time to see him stuffing something into the storm drain. A black plastic trash bag. He's pushing through the grates intended to catch leaves and pollution, like he's trying to stop up the sewer and drown this town in shit. Sir, please don't do that, I say. He looks up at me. Lady, please mind your business. My mouth snaps shut. Things get curiouser. A cat passes me, riding on a dog. A parade of little kids appear. Preschoolers wearing brightly colored shirts, holding hands and chanting, "Kids coming through! Kids coming through!" I notice the dealers who had been calling out, "Roxy, Roxy," have fallen quiet, hidden their OxyContin because of the marchers. Kid power. A man in an electric wheelchair comes up with music booming out of his speakers, coming out in his back seat. The air vibrates with sound. And then it vibrates with smell. I have entered a place where everything is covered in urine. A human bouquet with notes of dehydration, bladder stones, UTIs. My eyes tear up from the ammonia, but I can still make out a sign taped to a parked car's window. And it says, no checkbook, no seatbelt cutter, no California Road Atlas guide, no 40 caliber Sig Sauer handgun, not even an old French fry. There's nothing in this car. Please don't break the window. Then I stumble upon the needles of San Francisco, as striking as the fountains of Rome. The city gives out 400,000 new needles as part of a harm reduction program every month. Collecting a few pre-owns is a volunteer named Charlie, and he's the reincarnation of James Baldwin. Blue latex gloves, and he's picking up a few sharps and putting them into a little red cooler using a grabber like the arcade claw that would pick you up prizes, except his prizes have leftover blood in their barrels and pokey stingers. I'm thinking of moving here, I tell him, but I'm not trying to walk through the needle pit trap in the Saw movies. He tenses. Do you know the risks associated with injecting drugs? Disease? Like what? All of them? He looks at me with his big-eyed Baldwin pity. Hepatitis. HIV. Their transmission comes from sharing needles, reusing. Look, a number of people have a lot of feelings about drugs and doing them. But when we care about our neighbors, we don't just mean who's on top of the Salesforce tower. Did you know when we care for our most marginalized communities and keep them healthy, they're more likely to enter treatment? He goes back to his work. Safe injection, that's in everyone's interest. Just then I hear a scream. I'm blind! These motherfuckers robbed me and I'm blind! I look over and see the robbery victim and think of intervening, except beside him there's a fight between a late 20s white man and a late 70s white woman, and she's swinging a cane, and although there's 50 years between them, they're both going, come on, bitch! I'll fuck you up! Come on, bitch! It always surprises me to see white people doing bad, because the government has protected them for so long and saved the tricks and needle traps for the rest of us. I decide to go a different direction and almost miss the pit bull sitting in a planter box where you put a tree. And it's looking at me with such empathy, such concern, like a social worker, like it wanted to give me a voucher to help pay my rent. Beneath the dog, on the sidewalk, is a man cocooned in stained sheets. The wind blows one, and I see a leg and an untreated flesh-eating disease. A chunk of his calf is missing. Dear Lord, forgive a bitch. I am going to run, except he makes eye contact with me and says, what job do you have? As though he wants to know how I got health care for my uneaten legs. Just then I hear a woman's voice in my ear. Just smile and nod politely. I look, and it's a solidly built, gentle woman. It makes me feel calm, like the animatronic bear at Chuck E. Cheese. Just smile, she says, taking my elbow and leading me away. Every San Franciscan knows you get that one day where every crazy person in town talks to you, and they think you're their special friend. They will have vital information just for you. They won't be harmless, or actually they will, because they won't have any weapons on them. They may not look so great or smell so great, but you can't avoid them. No, you can't do that, or else you'll get 2 days in a row. Just say, aw, fuck, it's my day. Her name is Karen Taylor, and before she says goodbye, she says there's something down Ellis Street that I should see. And when I get there, I'm startled. It's a giant red gate. like something you would see outside of a temple for kung fu monks. "You want to go inside?" a voice from the gallery next door says, and out comes this skater-looking dude, introduces himself as Daryl Smith, and opens the gates and lets me into a very cared-for space. It's the Tenderloin National Forest. It's not a federal forest. It's a fire lane between two residential hotels. It has benches and trees and murals of brown faces to admire. And whoever made it must believe in the goodness of people. My dad was a cop. We lived in the Ingleside, and my first memory of this neighborhood was we were driving across town and all the people were outside, and he was like, "You don't ever want to find yourself here," which is really ironic since I've devoted most of my creative and artistic life to this place, Daryl says, and then goes and fiddles with the leaves of a ginkgo tree and tells me how every year it survives, it gets stronger. Then he points to a redwood right here in the dingy heart of the city. We thought we had committed a crime when we planted that redwood in 1999 because it really struggled. Me and my partner, we were on a panel with a landscape architect out at UC Berkeley named Walter Hood. And his thing was to design parks that were inclusive for everyone at every level, no matter where you were in life. That there was a place for you. And that was the inspiration for how this place evolved. Have a gathering space, put in an Orno there to bake pizzas, no meat, all vegetarian. This is for the people who live in the Tenderloin, which is one of the more marginalized neighborhoods in the country, given its size and population. People are forwarded to San Francisco from other cities and counties because of the city's big budget, which is over $12 billion now. People with psychiatric issues and fierce outdoors people who can't conform to interior living. But you can't judge them. You can't say, "Oh, this is your fault because of something you did." Because some are escaping domestic issues or drug issues, which are rampant. Yeah, but nonetheless, people should be given the opportunity to evolve. And the Tenderloin National Forest is to signify that. Wow, I'm thinking, this place is such a green pleasure. And it makes me wonder, what am I doing to hold anybody up? The people around here have been kicked in the tail by life, dismissed as immoral, irresponsible, too low to even be loved. But sometimes you can be what a place needs, right? You can bring it your light or your fight, especially when it's in disarray. Being here in the Tenderloin, I can see it has an unbroken connection to its history as a vice district. But to me, it also reminds me of America's failings, her discrimination problem and substance abuse problem, inequality problem. I don't know, maybe the Tenderloin deserves and does not deserve its reputation. I know what you're thinking. You've been to the Tenderloin. You're saying, "Oh, no. Keli Air Force Base. The Tenderloin has gotten worse." Well, so is the ocean. So is the White House. So is the internet. What are you going to do about it? Well, I'm not the kind of woman to mind her business. So I'm going to tutor at the Tenderloin Elementary School. Maybe work with women in their hotels, tell their stories, maybe make a map of the Tenderloin and places they recommend you see. The drag bars and the welcoming churches and the safe places to be no matter where you are in life. That lease. I make my way back to the apartment. My feet are parallel to the basement window. I look up at a sky that is turning the color of heroin. A red light beams down on everyone who has hunted for something and made it another day in San Francisco. Just then a Charles Manson lookalike comes and stands next to me. He's combing his hair with a fork. And he also turns skyward, and then his shriveled face to mine. And he grins. And in that moment, I feel myself truly being seen. And he says, "You look like a clown!" And I just smile and nod politely.
Hello. I'd like to tell you a story, a true story, about the nicest gift I ever received in the 12 years or more that I've been here in beautiful San Francisco. It starts as most of my stories do. It was a beautiful day in San Francisco, and boy was I broke. I left my house. I went to a nearby social service place that specifically dealt with helping women. You could get your nails done, you could get help finding a suit for a job interview, you could have some coffee and just chat with other women, hook up, connect. I went specifically looking for breakfast, but since it was September 18th, 2013, when I got to the door, they said, "Oh no, Carol, we're sorry, there's no more breakfast, that was just for the summertime." Okay. So I started back up the hill towards my house on that September 18th, and I'll never forget that because that was my late mom's birthday. And I ran into a neighbor and a friend of mine, call him Don F. Don and I were neighbors, friends. We had bonded over our love of tobacco, German expressionist film, and 60s soul music. Nice guy, lovely fellow. And so I chatted, "Good morning, hello Don, nice to see you." And then out of nowhere I said, "Am I supposed to read your tarot cards for you today?" And Don said, "Yes. If you ever decide to become a fortune teller, it's a trade secret, I will let you in on it. Just walk up to the person and say, 'Am I supposed to read your cards for you today?'" You would be stunned how many times they'll kind of look at you, and then they'll go, yes, you are." So I gave Don a tarot reading. I gave him 4 cards, a shortened version of a reading I designed. Here's where you are. Here's where you're headed. Here's how you get there. Here's what you find. You'll be happy to know Don got a lovely reading. We had a wonderful chat about his reading, about our mutual friends, about time, space, and everything. Me and Don tend to get a little esoteric at times. And then he handed me 2 $20 bills. Now, being John and Wilhelmina's only girl from Inglewood, I knew exactly what to do. I said, "Thank you so much, Don. This helps incredibly." Out of the blue, out of nowhere, Don looks at me and he says, "Come go to the Apple store with me. Just go look around." Now I thought to myself, sure, let's go look at a bunch of shiny, shiny toys that I will never be able to afford. But I spend all day in the real estate pages when I'm online, Guardian Online, Rightmove, Zillow, Sotheby's. Oh. Incidentally, if anyone wants to buy me a house in the audience tonight, I know exactly what I want. It'll take me about 3 days to find a perfect place. See me after the show. So I decided, okay, I'll go and look at shiny stuff with my friend at the Apple store. So we go down to the Apple store, which at the time was on 4th and Stockton. And we're in there looking around. They've got this thing and that thing. They've got all the shiny gadgets and all the bright, shiny young people, geniuses, I believe they call them, going around and selling these things. Then, you know, all the shiny rich people in there buying the devices. And we were just looking at stuff. And then across the room, I saw it. A MacBook Pro. It slices, it dices, it deep fries, it glasses your car, it answers your phone, it walks your dog. It makes you bigger, faster, stronger, more attractive, you'll make more friends. It's everything. Especially if your one broke down Toshiba. Rest in peace, old Sparky. Just died like the week before, okay? So we go over here and I'm dragging my feet. I'm reluctant because I don't want to look at the precious. It just hurts too much. We go over and the genius comes out and starts extolling the virtues of this. You can have one too if you got a fistful of dough for me. And out of nowhere, my friend Don, who was not like a super wealthy internet guy or anything, he lived on my block. He looks at the guy and he says, bring the lady one of these, and we'll look around and see what else you've got. Well, it's a good thing my jaw is not made of glass, because when it hit the floor, it didn't break. Don then goes on to get me a pair of Bose speakers, because Sunday is Dusty Record Day. And then Telemouse, because I like to game. An Apple Care Plus protection plan that will extend my warranty from 1 year to 3. A $250 gift card to the Apple Store. $100 bill. This is the guy that handed me 2 20s back at the beginning of this story. $100 bill and a pack of menthol cigarettes. That occasion was wonderful. He evidently had gotten some sort of a windfall or something. And like I say, we were good friends. We saw each other. We were the partnership of the floating $20 bill. I'd see him at the bus stop. He'd say, hey, Karen, let me get a cigarette. I'd say, here's a 20. Go get some at the corner store. I had money back then. Or he'd see me at the bus stop and I'd say, hey, Don, let me get a cigarette, because when you become my friend, sooner or later, I'm going to look at you and say, let me get a cigarette. Because it's my one bad habit. If I didn't, well, I mean, look at me. If I didn't smoke, I'd be perfect. And that would be intimidating, and I don't want to be off-putting to anyone. So, he was just such a wonderful person. And he did all these wonderful things, and he just got a windfall, and he decided to give me Christmas, New Year's Eve, my birthday, all my favorite holidays, all rolled into one on one day. Because believe me, I hadn't had a shiny new toy like the cool kids get. Not like that since I'd had a job with a union attached to it. So it was just a stunning act of generosity and friendship and kindness, and it made me vow a solemn vow that when I win the Powerball, which I will, okay? It's not a tax for the mathematically challenged. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to win. And when I do one day, I'm just going to go around and pick punters out of the crowd. That lady trying to get home from work after the end of a long day. Or maybe that student getting on the bus with their friends. I'm going to say, come go to the Apple Store with me. Let's go look around. I just like to tell that story in memory of my friend who unfortunately lost his valiant battle with AIDS in 2017 and will always be remembered by me and lots of other people. Thank you for listening to my story.
No one wears a uniform around here anymore. in San Francisco used to be working class. Used to make cars and sew jeans, clean radioactive ships that just came back from atomic testing. They used to make Twinkies right here in the Mission. Did you know that? They'd wake up early and bake those golden snack cakes, then take an air mattress foot pump and puff a little hole inside, pick up a syringe filled with semen, and inject jizz into the Twinkie. At least that's how I saw them making it on Cap Street on my way here. So fluffy, so creamy. Mission Twinkies. San Francisco used to be blue collar as fuck. Now you have two types of people in San Francisco, right? You have the people who work in tech, and the people who give those tech people hand jobs. Am I right? Am I right? Where my tech groupies at? Woo, dude, most companies nerds. HJs, BJs, RJs. Why? We can't code. Now, when someone admits they can't code, I imagine it as like an ABC after-school special where the star athlete says they are illiterate, and it goes a little something like this. Tracy, your computer science homework makes no sense. It's all 3s and 4s. It should be 1s and 0s. Miss Williams, I can't code. I can't even read a computer programming language. The only sequel I care about is Wonder Woman 2. If you got that sequel joke, you're the kind of nerd I'm looking for. Because I'm a woman with 2 journalism degrees, okay? I am in a new oppressed class in Trump's America. I need that tech protection money. Did you see that federal report that said a family of 4 earning $117,000 in San Francisco qualifies as low income? The same report said a single person earning $82,000 a year will have to eat cum. That's not gendered, okay? If you earn $82K, you'll be doing favors across the sexual spectrum. These are just survival tips, okay? I'm a survivor. And every time I'm tugging on a Twitter worker, I'm thinking of that survival movie, Gone with the Wind. And there's a scene where Scarlett O'Hara has just been worked by life, just posed and beaten down as a woman with 2 journalism degrees. And she picks herself up off the earth and shakes her fist to the sky and says, "If I have to lie, cheat, steal or kill, as God is my witness, as God is my witness, I will never go hungry again." And when I'm given a rim job to a Dropbox employee, call it being a back-end server, I'm thinking of Shawshank Redemption. And that scene where Andy Dufresne escapes prison through the sewer system. And I can almost hear Morgan Freeman doing my voiceover. He's like, "Kelly escaped the $82,000 Papa Delan by eating 500 yards of anus." 500 yards, the equivalent of 5 football fields. Her tongue swam through shit-smelling foulness I can't even imagine. Or else I don't want to, because techies are not known for their hygiene. But today, Kelly is living with a Googler raising a French bulldog, living comfortably on a software engineer's salary. Keli is a success in San Francisco. I like to imagine 400 years ago, there was a woman in Africa having a futuristic dream about her great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter, and she saw me talking about eating ass in front of an audience, doing Morgan Freeman's voice, and she stirs and says, "We are a success in America!" And you all are a success for surviving San Francisco.